Hello, and welcome to the 93rd episode of the Flipped Learning Educators Podcast, and we are on the EdReach Network, giving educators a voice, a big voice. And we have Troy Cockram, who is the host of our show. He's in his car. And we also have a guest here today, Ken Bauer. Ken, hello.
Hello.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
So, my name's Ken Bauer. I'm Canadian. I've been living and working in Mexico, working at a university here, Tecnológico de Monterrey, since 1995.
Thank you. And what they're going to do for me is we're going to talk about FlipCon14. And they were both there, and I was not. So for this show, they're going to tell me all about the great experiences they had at FlipCon. So I'm going to start, Ken, with you decided to go, and I believe you made a presentation as well. Is
Yes,
that right?
I did.
You want to tell a little bit about it? Mm-hmm.
So I've been doing flipping for a couple of years now, and last year actually I wanted to go virtually, and I think actually I got authorization, I got budget, but I got busy and I just forgot, which was really sad. So I missed it, and so I totally wanted to go this year. And then John Bergman was speaking at a conference for us in the Tecnológico de Monterrey because we're this system with 32 campuses. He was speaking in Monterrey in December at our big conference for innovation and technology, or in educational technology. And so I got to hang out with him basically the whole day. Everything he was signed up for, I'm like, oh, I'll go talk to him. Oh, I'll go to his workshop. Oh, I'm going to his talk as well. And so I talked a lot with John, and then he convinced me to I got to do something at FlipCon14. So I put together a talk on basically flipping computing science and what we're doing here. I didn't really talk much about what I planned to talk about, but it worked out pretty well. But that's how it goes, right?
So you flip computer science.
I do.
Is that a specialty flipping area?
I don't know, because I'm just starting. But so I think it's easy, but I'm wondering if it's because everyone in their own domain either thinks it's really easy because it's their own domain, or they think it's really hard because my domain's hard and everybody else can do it easily in English or physics or math or what everyone else is doing, which I've tended to find. I haven't had a lot of contact with other CS flippers, and especially not so much in higher ed, but I had a really good chance to talk to Frances. I'm blocking on her last name, but we helped moderate the higher ed breakout group after the keynote. She's from Ireland, and she's doing flipping of computer science and actually introductory programming, so kind of the first semester programming in undergrad over in Ireland. So I definitely have someone I need to talk to more.
Well, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people who are interested in whatever resources you have, so that's a start, because I know that's sort of an unusual area anyway in the high schools. All right. We few people that didn't get to go don't have any idea what the experience was like. So were there a lot of people there? What was the buzz? What was the new takeaways for this year?
Well, they said there was around 400 attendees. I talked to Chris Bergman, John's wife, at the hotel, but she didn't have the numbers right in front of her. But there was about between 400 and 500 on site. So, and then I think I forget the number they said online. During like the keynote, I saw about 100 people live online, and then I'm sure there's a lot more that we'll watch later.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the numbers were online. I know I talked to Heather Witten, and she said there was like 25 or 30 watching her session that she was doing online as well as in person. So I have no idea how many people there were out there. But Twitter was a-buzzing.
I was bringing up the archive of all the Twitter feeds. I got to spend time looking through that. There's a lot out there. So what was the theme, the new ideas that are buzzing about?
Well, I should say I didn't really, I hadn't really thought about a theme prior.
Oh, Jar's breaking up.
in the past, am I? In the
A little
past,
bit.
the theme has been been a real theme. It's been kind of a hodgepodge.
Mm-hmm.
This year, they built their theme around Molly. When I heard Molly Schrader was the keynote, I was curious because I know Molly, and I've seen her present a lot, and I think she's great. But I wasn't sure how they'd fit her into flipped learning. What I felt like came out of her keynote was her idea of being constantly in beta and constantly iterating.
Right.
And we call when you get to flipping 2.0, we call it an iteration. Even in my book, I talk about the first and the second iteration flips, and I think the theme was, what is your iteration, I believe, was sort of the theme, and all the people that presented had a different iteration of what the flip was.
Absolutely. I know one area that I'm hearing a lot more about is the gamification way that they're pulling in the videos and then giving badges and all, and that's sort of a iteration all on its own that I know you and I have talked about, Troy. So what did you find, Ken? What was something real exciting and enthusiastic people there?
Yeah, there was that theme that came out of Molly with the living in beta, and actually that all of these themes come up a lot. Maybe I'll talk later about the fact that my background's not education conferences, but it ties a lot to what I've done in my software engineering background. I didn't get around to the gamification stuff, but I heard a lot about it. The theme I was seeing a lot, and that's what's really important to me, is the concept of personal learning network and sharing and coordinating and getting together with each other about what we're doing, and that's been a big theme for myself. So I got a chance to see Dave and Delia's talk on Wednesday morning. I was there, and it was just a small group of us, and that was awesome. I mean, that just totally fit in with the way my kind of focus is right now on building up a PLN, and going to FlipCon in person was really helpful for me for that, for sure.
Which presentations would you like to highlight?
So I was at Molly's talk, and that was great. I really like the living in beta. It really jives with agile software development, which is more my background in extreme programming and the Scrum methodology. People that are software geeks will get that. I've got a blog post I need to write about the analogies between flipped learning and what is agile software methodology. That's on the queue of many drafts in my blog. And then we had a great group of higher ed people, higher ed and flip, which was really a mix of people that were thinking about flipping, but they were scared or they didn't know how to do it, or there's not enough resources in higher ed flipping, which I think is a central theme. Everything we tend to run into is middle school, high school, and not so much primary, I don't think either, but I don't watch that so much, but I ran into some grade 1 teachers, and I definitely got to talk to them some more because I want to hook them up with my kids' teachers. So the higher ed panel was great, or not a panel, it was more of a breakout session, and it was just a big mixed group of people. There was about 20 of us there. I should upload some photos, and I'll write about it later sometime. I want to make a post about each session. And that was great. It was really short. One of the comments that came back was that it was too short, the breakout session of the groups after the keynote. That was one feedback we got. But I think it's really important to have that right after the keynote intro, because then you identified some people you want to talk to over the next couple of days, whether it's over beers or over dinner or coffee or whatever. Are you going to add something there, Troy?
They did that at a different time. Yeah, they did that at a different time last year. They did it later in the day, and I can't remember if it was the first or the second day, but you're right. Moving it to the beginning right after the keynote was really beneficial.
Yeah, that totally helped.
He froze.
He's frozen. That's my kids
Right.
say, my grandpa freeze.
Now this is going to be hard to ask a computer science guy, but are there any new tools out there, something that make it easier for us to flip? The reason I say it'd be hard to ask you is because you may not find them as exciting as maybe somebody who isn't in computer science, because you know how a lot of stuff works and can probably maneuver around it, whereas the normal teacher in the classroom wants something simple and easy. And we're looking forward to, at least I believe, Google Classroom's coming out.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that one, I got my beta and I'm very excited, but it's just incredibly easy, and that's what
Right.
Teachers need.
And that's good.
Yeah. Anything else that they were presenting or showing off a little bit?
I think maybe it's a misperception because I'm like the geeky CS guy and I got to know all the tools. But I found that because I tend to roll my own stuff because I can, whether it's from running my own server and putting my own Moodle on it since 2002 and then sharing that with my colleagues. I like to experiment. I started using Schoology in January and I was really happy with that. Kate and Troy were using Edmodo for their presentation, so that was the first time I was inside Edmodo, and now I got to go look at that. But I think I'm finding just as much tools from others that are in other areas because, like you said, they're easy. It's not as hard now as it was, say, 12 years ago or 5 years ago, and anybody can use these tools. The barrier's not there like it used to be.
Right. I'm always trying to help teachers edit video, and you know, what's out there for free isn't really the easiest option for them, and it certainly doesn't give them enough breadth of options to work with, and that's the thing. It's whether or not the schools are willing to provide the tools that they're going to be working with. And as we were scrambling before this podcast, and I'm just trying to find a microphone and headset, you know, those are the simple things in life, right?
Right. Well, I think it's not even just the technology. It's the simple tips of no matter which tool you're using for podcasting or recording or whatever. It's the little details of please wear a headset when you're doing your audio or else you sound really bad. Those types of tips are really helpful. I ran into the people from Verso, and I got a quick demo, but then the bus was leaving, so I had to run off. And I really want to check out what they're doing because it looked dead simple. And I don't get completely, so I can't like sell it or anything here. But it seemed like their model was very much, if you're at the individual professor or teacher level and you want to use our stuff, it's free. But then what their business model, because I of course said, okay, so what's the business model if it's free, is more getting the analytics in the system level side for a whole school that wants to jump in. So that looks very promising. So I want to look at that at the personal level. But then I'm an analytics geeky guy, so I'd like to look at the back end stuff as well.
Oh, absolutely. And I know if you're talking about doing things like this too, Google Hangouts, whole class, we've got conference mics now, and makes a world of difference.
Awesome. Whether
or not you can hear the students, and they don't have to keep walking out of their seats to get up there to ask a question. So all those things are available. It's just a matter of you got to have admin support. You got to be able to offer it to the teachers and make it plug and play.
And make it normal. Like I was thinking the other day, because my students are all trying to even not just listen to videos, but they're actually making videos while they're in my classroom. And it's like, yeah, it's okay. You can put your headset on. That's okay. I mean, I know in your other classes they're going to yell at you, but hey, bring your headset, pull it out. It's fine. So you can, get better sound quality. So I don't kill myself when I'm trying to listen later.
All right. So did you get to talk a little bit about the 3-ring circus, a little bit about mastery in any way?
Not a lot. So I applied Mastery last semester with all my groups. So I went full in on Mastery, no deadlines on any of my assignments. It worked that I was doing, say, 30 topics in my introductory computer science course, and I did a system where they had to get 40 points out of these 30 topics, and the idea was 0 for not doing nothing, 1 for minimally acceptable, and 2 for I could use this to teach someone else. And it didn't have to be video. It could be a poem, a haiku if they wanted, but nobody submitted something cool like that. Or a Prezi that was really well done, or some people just wrote up blog posts. And that worked really well Some students just totally jumped on it. Some needed a lot of prodding. Some did nothing. Some left it all to the last week of the semester, of course. And so it worked really well. I got a lot of videos. It was really, I talked to Troy about this because they asked me what was like kind of the minimum for the videos, and I would say, oh, like 3 minutes or 4 minutes. But then Troy also said, but we didn't put a maximum on it. So I'd get students doing like 25-minute videos on a really simple concept. And thank goodness for YouTube double speed play.
Yes, it saved us listening to these podcasts. No. Well, so you are actually using Mastery in your classroom. It sounds like fairly successfully.
I'm happy.
That's a big step.
I'm happy for the first time. The feedback I got from my students is it's great that you let us, they didn't say asynchronous, of course, but that you let us do this asynchronously, but I'm not mature enough. I need some guidance and deadlines.
And
they can come from everybody,
students, yes.
but that was something I really need to improve on, and I'm not sure how to deal with that next semester, whether I just lay out, these are Ken's suggested, path in finishing these, as opposed to putting some kind of complex process of levels of points based on hand-in data. I don't want to go down that road. I prefer simple grading. So that's fun.
Yeah, and did you come up with any strategies that you're going to use that you heard about? I mean, you were saying Troy and Kate had some ideas for you. What kinds of things are you thinking about implementing?
Oh, yeah, Troy and Kate gave me flashbacks to high school English literature. That was cool. But and so using Edmodo was interesting. Oh man, I just put a whole bunch of comments on their Edmodo this morning at 4 o'clock. Troy pointed me some tools for Google that I'd never used before, so I got to follow up on that. Oh, I really like Troy's. I watched his intro to what was it? It was Dickens' Christmas Carol, and I liked that. I mean, I don't teach English literature. I was thinking I should make intro videos to units in my course and say, okay, this is the unit we're going to do, and kind of a quick 5-minute overview of what that unit's about, as opposed to the detailed videos. I don't make a lot of videos, to be honest, and that's one thing I want to do more. But I think this kind of intro to the topic video, like you did for those, was really cool, and I can kind of put my spin on it for my area. So that's definitely something I learned there.
And that's your set. That's your anticipatory for all the students, and you got to have it in order to get some buy-in. And sometimes it's always at least for the younger kids, that intro also explains to them some expectations and how they're going to manage these videos. So it's a plus all around to start that way.
Right.
You were telling me a little bit about technology conferences, computer science conferences, and how they're different from education. Let's hear about that.
So this came up a lot, and I was thinking about it because I met some teachers who their wife or their husband was in tech, especially in computing science or programming or software development. And one thing that was interesting is in tech we're very spoiled, where we have lots of funding and we never pay to go, and we get paid everything to go to our conferences. And I was noticing that these are teachers, and teachers don't make a lot of money to start with in general. And most of them are paying their way there, and they might get tuition, or not tuition, but registration paid. But a lot of them are paying for their flights, paying for their hotels. One of them was saying, "Well, it was free because it was my points," and I'm like, "Well, but you could use those points for something else. You're using it to do something for work, so that's really admirable." So there was that. And then the other thing was the obvious, it's sad but it's true, that the tech conferences are like 90% male and 10% female, and there's massive lineups for the guys' bathroom. That's different. Very, very, very sad, and I'm trying to work on increasing female roles in computing science and science in general. That, and then what else? It's just that I've never been to an education conference, so I've always been on kind of my discipline side, and this is the first education conference I went to, and the passion, and because I'm a passionate teacher, and I'm not going to say my colleagues aren't, but being surrounded by a lot of passionate teachers who are excited and wanting to share with each other was just I was just overwhelmed. It was great.
Well, you hit the nail on the head because they're paying for it. They're doing it during
Yeah.
their summer vacation. They have to be definitely passionate about what they do.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you a little bit about, you were telling about making connections and building your PLN. I was wondering, do you have some people that you've connected with that you want to offer our listeners? Just, maybe they want to follow these folks as well.
So Kate Baker was talking with Troy at their session, and I heard she was virtual last year, and she was like the top Twitter poster, even though she was attending virtually, and she beat me by 22 tweets. I came in second place. I say she got me to record Troy and Kate's session, so I couldn't tweet while I was doing that, and sabotaged me. But that's okay. She deserved to win. She's a Twitter queen. Kate's doing great work. Troy's doing great work. Obviously, there's tons of people doing really great stuff, and there's at least 10 people I had on my list before I went. I was very OCD organized, and I had my list of people I wanted to see, which wasn't just the people on the bingo card that Delia put together, which was great too. That helped me actually. I found some people I should see that weren't on my list. So there's Kate. I talked a lot with. Oh my God, I'm going to get in trouble for forgetting people. Audrey, and I talked with Christina. And I talked with Julie Schell. He works with Eric Mazer, and Eric just gave a talk for us like a month and a half ago at the Tech de Monterey, and I accidentally, because of him, found her because I hadn't seen her work, and so I got a chance to meet her and talk to her on site. Aaron and John, obviously, but they're always busy, and I've talked to them before, and everyone's going to obviously follow them. Oh man, there's just so many. But I'm going to have to blog post and say my list of people that you need to follow.
That would be wonderful, and of course, we're going to try to follow you because you tweeted so much. Yeah, he keeps popping in and out. I don't know if it's because he's on the road and he might not have a great connection. But I was going to say, so if we're in there and we're in Twitter or maybe even on Google Plus and we're looking for FlipCon14, we're going to be able to see all those tweets, and you're probably going to be mentioning a lot of people in them as well. So that's one way for everybody this summer to go back and look at that archive and try to build their PLN.
And definitely we should link in the show notes those archives that Brian Bennett put together. There's the 2 views. I tweeted them out sometime, but there's 2 different views of it. There's Explore. There's one that's more the data analytics side, and there's one that's more kind of exploration side. I haven't looked at it, to be honest, yet. But there's 2 separate links that are really kind of different views of that Twitter data.
I would like to see that. I know I use the tags. It's a Google spreadsheet add-on that works fairly well, although I crashed it trying to archive some of the World Cup tweets. That was a problem. Well, I'm going to say that because we don't have Troy anymore, and you have really been an inspiration. I really needed to go, and I hope I'm going to get to go next year.
Me too.
Yes, it would be fun. I would love to get out there. And
it's moved to July.
Yes, I heard. So there might even be a chance.
July in Michigan.
So, Ken, can you please tell everybody where they can find you online? You mentioned a blog, and of course you're on Twitter. So.
Yeah. So on Twitter, I'm Ken_Bauer. The Ken without the underscore is a different guy. He's kind of like me. It's interesting, and I follow him, and he follows me. And he's Canadian, and he's in education, and he's a geek, and he's about my age, and he's got a beard. So it's weird. And he's a good guy. Yeah, it's my doppelganger. So it's Ken_Bauer. I blog at blog.kenbauer.me. And the best way to get a hold of me is email, which is kenbauer@gmail.com. But I'll see you wherever you are. If you can't find me on the internet, you're not trying, as I tell the students.
Ken, it's been great to meet you.
Yeah, likewise.
And let's be sure and get people connected. And we'll make sure that all of this about FlipCon14 continues, that excitement continues to be talked about all summer.
Excellent. Right. And I look forward to meeting you next year, Joan.
I hope to be there.
That'd be awesome.
Right. Thanks for being on the show.
Okay, thank you.
All right, bye-bye.